with this incredible collection of people. Oh my God! For a person who sat on the internet all day in high school on Tumblr and stuff, my mom was like, "What's being on the internet gonna do for you, baby?"
You made it.
And so we got a short time though. I'll take all the time. And I want to make sure that we have an opportunity for everyone to introduce themselves. Needing no introduction. Let's go ahead and give it up for Megan.
I am Megan. I guess now formerly on Batwoman. Crazy to say that, right?
All the shit the CW canceled.
I know.
Pick another network, pick it up.
Hopefully, but like I said, we are continuing the show on my TikTok, so make sure you guys follow me. But yeah, aside from acting, some of you may know, I don't know if Haley is in the room, but I have my own foundation. There she is. She came to one of my conventions. I do empowerment conventions for girls ages 12 to 19. The whole focus of it was just to empower young girls and young women so that we can always just feel strong in our own power and just knowing that we are just awesome and amazing exactly how we are. Recently in 2019, it was such a joy to be able to do this, but we had added on a whole conversation about LGBTQ and that community specifically, and I always just make sure that that we are garnering mostly towards urban foster youth, because I feel like programs like what I do back in California, like it's not always offered to Black folks, and they usually want to charge, and especially with Latinos, they can't really afford it all the time. So my event is completely free. And I make sure that each girl gets backpacks and school supplies and that they're ready for their school year. And it's just been literally just like the greatest thing I've ever done in my entire life. So, yeah. But yeah, aside from acting, some of you may know, I don't know if Haley is in the room, but I have my own foundation. There she is. She came to one of my conventions. I do empowerment conventions for girls ages 12 to 19. The whole focus of it was just to empower young girls and young women so that we can always just feel strong in our own power and just knowing that we are just awesome and amazing exactly how we are. Recently in 2019, it was such a joy to be able to do this, but we had added on a whole conversation about LGBTQ and that community specifically, and I always just make sure that that we are garnering mostly towards urban foster youth, because I feel like programs like what I do back in California, like it's not always offered to Black folks, and they usually want to charge, and especially with Latinos, they can't really afford it all the time. So my event is completely free. And I make sure that each girl gets backpacks and school supplies and that they're ready for their school year, and it's just been literally just like the greatest thing I've ever done in my entire life. So, yeah.
The empathy that you are ready to change energy and to get to know each other, to talk about things. And I think this is the most important thing for us to try to do anything. You need to be interested in the other. You need to respect the other, even though you don't understand. It's not up to you, just respect. And I think we're going to be better. Yeah. So I'm really glad to be here. Red is the first lesbian web series in Brazil. We started new as we started. I'm just saying that we did a show together. She's a couple. She's a girl. We have a bunch of really nice people who did the show, make it happen. So it's an independent show. We had 6 seasons, so it was 1 season by year.
Hey, let's give it up for Luciana.
Hi everyone, I'm very honored and emotional to be here with you guys. And for me, it's something about our time we are living right now in the earth. Because in Brazil, we live some reality that is so sad, but also good. because people are changing too, for better and for worse too. So we're getting separating people. I'm sorry for my English; it's not really okay. And I think, thank you.
You speak English better than me.
Okay, and I think our series is an example that we can change the world together. Yes, we can do things together because we don't have like a sponsor or anything, and we did the show like we want to, you know. And I believe in non-colonization mind, and in horizontality is what can I say?
Sorry, lo siento.
It's okay.
Lo que sea.
But what I do want to highlight is that queer fan spaces are normally deeply diverse, but queer media often has not been. And there's kind of like an old fandom truth that like once you have queer fans, you can do anything.
I agree.
Since we're in this space, I want to start by asking, what has the impact of queer fan communities been on your art, on your artistry, on your ability to create in this space? And for anybody. Yes. Don't have to go down
I would say it's affirming. Y'all let us know that what we're doing isn't going into a vacuum. Like I started out doing Cherry Bomb in like the early 2000s and created it because me and my friends, you know, several identifying as bi at the time, most of them have decided they've gotten to it as they're lesbians. I'm still identifying as bi. But we were baby like little kids.
I mean, I want to continue to pass this down, but I was trying to find that quote from Viola Davis about how what representation means, and if you can't see it, you can't imagine it.
Yeah.
And how important it is to see yourself, to imagine a possibility of your future. And so I actually kind of want to maybe have two questions on the floor now. Just what has queer fan spaces done to help boost your feeling of being seen, and what it means to you to be able to be a representation to so many folks, be it here or just abroad.
Look, in Brazil, we didn't have a lesbian web series at all. And we have soap operas in Brazil. They are so popular there, and right? She learned a bit Portuguese.
It's how I learned Portuguese.
Yeah, but soap operas are so conservative, and then the lesbian couples are like, here, oh my God, they touch each other, and then they look at each other, and then in the high moment of them are like one kiss, like, you know,
Or a
oh
hug.
my God, they kiss, or a hug, yeah. So it was really strange for the queer community and the lesbian people there, please. And so our series talk about love, talk about a real love, and this was amazing. We have a lot of stories about people that can be able to explain to the family what is the feeling about. Help me, please. You know, and then we have a lot of women talking to us about thank you because you make it possible for me to explain my family that what I feel is something that you need to respect because it's a thing. It's not a phase. It's not something that you have a story talking about that. So and so many stories about health, about
So it's nice to connect what you said, like, because internet's so powerful, and then because our show is not on YouTube, unfortunately, but it's on Vimeo, so on demand it's not so easy to everyone have access, which so but yeah, we began to receive this the end, like from India, from Russia, from I was like, oh my god, they're watching us there. It's so amazing. So it was a big surprise, big nice surprise.
For me, the impact from the fans, which I mean, part of the gang community is here. For me personally, it was your guys' impact has just been so huge for me. Like I just doing all the virtuals today, like just realizing like how much I've like inspired them. Like they inspire me, and as I had shared on day one, like I didn't realize the full extent of Sophie when I had first auditioned. I didn't realize that she was going to be the love interest to Kate Kane until after I had booked the job. So then once I had, and then they were like, okay, we're gonna bring in a whole storyline with your mom because you're closeted, but your mom is super conservative, so you gotta be able to this and that, whatever. I didn't realize like the impact of that until like I started talking to people, and then I was even like kind of DMing some Black queer women who were actually sharing with me their stories of being closeted, and so being able to tell that story, I mean, it's like even to this like second, it touches me so much that it felt like an honor to be able to do that, and so in some aspects, I mean, I've always just let it just be like, hey, I'm an actor, but obviously, when Javisi had come on, like it made me feel like, oh gosh, like because I'm not queer, like is that going to be an issue, and are people even going to want to listen to Sophie's story? But today, from speaking to the GOAT community, I mean, just knowing how much she's like impacted you guys, like it's so important. And then the fact that they've got a whole campaign going on right now to keep the show going, like it's like the fan impact is huge, and so it's just been one of my greatest honors to be able to tell this story, truly. I'm very friendly. Yes. Okay. There's other friendly people in here. Okay, got it. Okay, just I'm your best ally, but I'm friendly. Megan's friendly?
Yes.
Okay, Megan. I'll see you outside. I'm just kidding. I do my best to represent the friendly crew. I see Teresa looking at me right now. Oh, I just got a kiss. The best one.
No, we love our friendlies. We love our friendlies.
Can I just add a little to this question? I just wanted to say that like, as there is more representation, you finally start to see characters that aren't just like one thing or the other. And for myself playing Nikta, who's not like necessarily the good guy in the show. She's complex. That's how I feel. But I think it was just a joy to be able to be like, okay, I get to play a human being, and I don't have to be good, or don't have to be just bad. I can be all these nuances, because obviously in any community, should it be queer, disabled, Black, white, anything, there's going to be all shades of humanity.
So, it's so nice because maybe you're on Netflix or it's a movie or Amazon, like big place to happen, these movies, and we are on internet. And not because of this, because we don't have the sponsor. So, but the guys, they really think in a good way, like the guys from our show, the producer, the director, it's the same.
Our fans are our producers. They are the production.
Yeah.
The fans.
Yeah. And so I think it was a really good example that it's a way to create your representation. Is that recording? No,
Absolutely it is. You did that. Yes, that was
Who's speaking on that? But I'm not bitter.
It's just, and people don't get the cultural nuances because they're used to, most of society, all of us at the intersections have to learn the dominant community and the oppressors' languages, their nuances, their cultural interactions. dominant part of society doesn't have to do that. They don't have to learn that. So to them, if it sounds like them, then it sounds universal, right? So I think that like when we're giving like love to the shows that we love that have the characters, that's one thing. Pressure from fans to those places asking for more characters is something crazy. Like people like tweeting is good too, but it's like if you write a letter or write an email, it represents something like maybe isn't quite in the zeitgeist. Like a lot of my stuff, I tend to like Cherry Bomb was one of the first streaming shows that was a half hour long on the internet. Period. Right. When people didn't always have enough bandwidth to even do a lot of watching it, they had to spend time to download and all that stuff, but we still made it, right? But that's like was 10 years ahead of the time when most people were willing to watch streaming. So a lot of the stuff that I've had ideas for is sitting there, but it was about 10 years before its time. And so it's like getting those things in, and the more that you guys demand things from them and write in about these particular characters, that makes a difference too. So it's like us continuing to have the fortitude to keep making work, even though it's challenging, because it is. Like it's challenging, it hits a wall when we're getting notes. We're like, we can feel this, and if other Black, brown, queer people read it, they're like, oh my God, this is what I have been like, I just want to see this. And then if you send it to a cishet white gatekeeper, a lot of them read it, they're like, what? And why is she doing that? And why would they ever be like that? It's like, just trust me. Trust me, I know. You know, and so it's like us being able to keep doing that authentically, and y'all keep demanding it authentically, and keep demanding campaigns. Like when you see even like a little character like start writing them, highlighting it, because when they start, they don't get it, but they do get data. They get data.
Can I just say really quickly?
Yeah.
I had said this whatever day it was, Friday. Just remember, guys, like, you know, we still live in a very like capitalistic nation. And so
Dismantle that, but that's a whole other
big
story.
time. And so for me, it sadly was not a big surprise when all of a sudden, you know, all these corporations, TV shows, whatever, this and that and the other, all of a sudden just kind of like died out. You know, they really tried to take advantage of, you know, the George Floyd era, if you will, and BLM, and you know, they act like they care, but they don't. And you have to just like remember that.
Yeah.
It's all about the money, which is really, excuse my language, fucked up.
Yeah.
And personally, I think because we allow money and marketability to drive things, we're kind of losing the humanity of a lot of this shit. And a lot of people are getting ignored and neglected and just literally everything. And so I just feel like it's up to us as human beings to continue that advocacy, to continue the message. We can't let it be upon these people like these bigwigs, because at the end of the day, they really do not care. I mean, they canceled Batwoman on Lesbian Visibility Week and Superhero Day and all this stuff. They don't care. So just don't be surprised when stuff like that happens with, you know, with corporate America now all of a sudden not caring a year later, because it's just about the money and it's not a big deal now. You know, so, but it should always be a big deal, like here in your heart, and then that's what drives you, not what they care about. That's all I'm gonna say.
And I want to pass this along to other groups too. But I would love to hear more about the difference of when there are writers who share a cultural experience versus writers who are putting their own projections of your experience into the writing, and how different the two are. You know, because it was, let me just say, looking at the Batwoman Twitter, it was clear that we were there. It was clear, and that felt good. But then when you look at, you know, like some of the other characters you play, I could also tell that we weren't there. So yeah, I'm just curious for everyone on stage, but especially for you, Megan. Or that we weren't listening. Yeah.
We're there and they don't listen.
Well,
No, not. Oh gosh. I'm still now. This one I am bitter. I'm still actually. I'm still working through all of it because it's just so. It's really sad for me personally because I actually had to tell myself on this experience with Batwoman to just try to not care, but it's so hard because in like my soul I care so much for proper representation of even just a Black woman, you know, like what she would really do when she's sitting across from Kate Kane. Like there was a scene that they just I didn't like the way they had written it, but then speaking with the showrunner, who is white and lesbian, it was her personal story. And so I understood that, she wanted to see her story, in Batwoman, and I get it that I was actually playing her coming out story. And so I can't diss that. However, you casted a black woman in the role. And so it just ticked me off when there wasn't really just proper representation. And then I didn't really find that our writer's room was very, very diverse. I mean, it was diverse in the way that we actually, there was, half of the writer's room actually really was queer, so that was wonderful.
Yeah, they spent a lot of time looking for queer writers for that, actually.
Yeah, like, and that I think was awesome. But there needed to be, some black queer women, or just, you know what I'm saying?
We right here ready for you.
Yeah, I'm just saying, the guilt game is ready. So yeah, it was a little tough. And then really quickly, because I want everybody else to be able to speak, but it also was difficult too, because I saw that they may not have exactly known how to raise up 2 black queer characters on the show. Because as soon as Javicia came on, and I always say it, I love her to death, there's nothing to do with her, they just did not know what to do with me. So it was quite frustrating and annoying, but we just need more people like the GOAT gang to get into the room to help these types of things. Yeah, that was my PG nice version.
I worked in business and I was literally the worst ever. But I had to deal with a lot of white men, and a lot of the time I had to convince them that my ideas were their ideas so that we could move forward. So this translated really well into this world. But also, when I got into this field, I just gave no shits anymore because I had to do it for so long. And so I didn't actually care who the producer was, who the director was, or anything. But I did know how to do that little trick, which was just like, I'm gonna lovingly take the time to try and explain why this might not make sense. And or also trying to reach out to people that I work with and be like, how do you feel right now? And like, if I was with you, do you need support? Can I be with you on these conversations? So you're not alone. And so in my experience, it's been a lot of like rallying around the people that I'm working with to be like, should we come together as a front to try and communicate about how this is being written? Because it starts with producing and writing, like right there. Like if someone doesn't have that experience, you can do tons of research for sure. But consultation, huge, pay that person. Yes, pay that person, pay that person, pay that person. Don't hire an actor and then have them teach you and not pay them, because they're doing your job for you.
It's a second job.
Yeah, it's another job. So, in my experience, a lot of that is just kind of wooing and also being mindful of my own energy, because you also have to work in these spaces. You don't want to be the bad guy, as whatever. No matter how sweet and kind you can be about it, you're still the bad guy. But yeah, we're so angry. Wow, why? Why are we angry? But I think a lot of that just comes back to a lot of the things we've been talking about, supporting each other, being there with each other for those conversations, and sometimes you're the only person in that room. And this again doesn't only happen around queerness or race, it's also disability. I just think it's really important that we're able to support each other, go to those conversations, and even if I get fired, at least I know that I tried, and that maybe someone else feels more safe, because I feel a real responsibility for what goes out there and what people see. We're talking about representation, we want people to feel seen. I see you and I hear you, and like, I'm not bitter, and everything you have to hold to do your job. It's not easy, it's not fucking easy. Yeah.
It's been really rough.
It helps to get somebody at the intersections too, because
Yeah.
I think we hold different types of privilege. Like there's
1,000%.
like adjacency to whiteness, like because if it's a white power structure, for them you might they may consider you more adjacent than like us, right?
1,000%.
So like if you're saying the same thing we're saying, you're like, no,
Mhm.
because then they don't feel like it's like a chip on your shoulder. When I made that angry that was a joke. Black women are constantly seen as angry. I could be talking like this, but she was so intimidating. Why are you being so aggressive? Sir. But like having someone next to you who's like, no, I see what she's saying too,
Yeah.
can sometimes be really helpful. And it's not to say, and I don't, because I know there's folks probably watching in the interwebs that sometimes you can't afford to quit your job or to say something in that way. Like sometimes you got kids at home, you got a mortgage to pay, that doesn't allow you that flexibility to be able to speak up in that way. So sometimes we have to give support in other ways. I just want to acknowledge that because I have had places in my life where I had to do that. I had to listen to, this woman make racist jokes to her mother next to my cubicle for like a year, and my ex-husband quit his job over that. I was like, well, then who's gonna pay the rent? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's things that we deal with and that we figure out what we can stomach and what we can't. We find where our line is, but the more allies we have,
Yeah.
the more helpful it is. Just like the same thing like you're talking about, like we do need allies. We need people in whatever group is considered most adjacent to whoever's in the power structure. So like your proximity to straightness allows you to advocate for us as queer people in a way that people can't always hear it from us. So like that privilege you get from that can be used as a tool to up-level everybody else. And in the same way, like I may have like education privilege over somebody else because I've got like a couple degrees, right? My family's had generations of education. So somebody that's being pushed down or marginalized around class or education, I can stand up for them and I can say something that speaks out for their humanity and their value and their worth and calls people out on undermining that because they don't hold the same things that I hold. Like we all have something that we have a privilege of that someone else doesn't have that we can use to stand for them. If we all start doing that, they're fucked.
And I still need to two questions.
Oh, no, that's okay. Yes, I will. I take some.
Hello. Stand up. All right. This is for the whole cast. Anyway.
I love this movie.
You just planted a seed.
I can't look at you. Okay, so for the whole panel, I know that creating art is, especially when you're a BIPOC person, multiply marginalized people, it centers trauma. So I'm wondering how you all center joy. How do you do that in your art, and do you know that you're worthy of centering joy?
Thank you for that question. That's really beautiful. Can we tell you again the question? You'll try and get it. Okay. Centering joy.
Like just sitting here right now with all of you, with everyone, and being like, oh, we're just all human beings, actually, at the end of the day. And what is it's such a joy for me just to look into your eyes and answer this question. So I just mean. I just mean like just trying to appreciate.
To wrap up. And so I want to, $1 no. I'm gonna bring it home. I started this panel with just some grounding in the space, and I said something similar during the LGBTQ actor panel yesterday of like, a lot of people have been, talking about boycotting Florida and don't come to Florida, forgetting that there are like a lot of Black and queer and brown and Indigenous people in Florida that like need you in this moment. And I asked people at the end of that panel to send out a message of joy and resilience and resistance to all of the young people fighting back in their schools against the Don't Say Gay bill. Because when I tell you, these kids are fighting and will win. We will win. The victory is already ours. Yes. So we got gay prom tonight, but I wanted to know if everyone here could just leave a quick message of joy and affirmation to the young people in Florida, across the country, across the continent, across the world, who are standing up and fighting and demanding their place in the world. So I'm gonna pass it down.
Keep fighting. Keep fighting. They've already lost the culture war. They know that already. They're eventually going to pass on and cross over, and you will be the people who are left seeding the ground for what is to come. And just know that you will outlive them. And just keep holding fast and keep fighting. And know that your joy and your fabulousness and the way that we glitter and sparkle more than they often ever could is a part of what makes you magic. Your queerness is a gift. It is a gift. It is a gift. It is a gift. It is a fucking gift that allows you to see the world different than so many other people.
I would just say, just to the straight, friendly community, that they need to get out there and actually help our queer friends, because it's not just their issue, it's our issue. I always tell people that I personally believe that we sincerely are stronger in numbers and we are better together, like truly. And so I think, especially in California, I've definitely seen some people be like, okay, well, that's just their thing in Florida. We're good over here, we're diverse, blah, blah, blah. But it's only a matter of time before that type of message can definitely spread everywhere. So I would just encourage even those who may not entirely fit the description to actually go out there and help our friends. Because without that, I feel like something like this can just continue and be just like even far more damaging. So I do believe that it actually will reverse and be exactly where it needs to be, but it's not going to be there until we continue to fight.
There's something out there in